Welcome back to All Things Money. I'm David Blain. In tonight's show, our first segment, we were talking about unemployment in America and its relationship to startups and job creation. As always, if you have any questions or comments on the show, feel free to give us a call at 252-633-0107. Our email is allthingsmoney@dlblain.com. That's allthingsmoney@dlblain.com. Also, come visit us on the web at www.dlblain.com. There you'll find more information about me and my firm, as well as archive copies of the All Things Money show. You can listen to the last segment if you missed it, all the way back to you can go back over a year now and listen to the shows there on the internet. Okay, so we were talking about the unemployment problems in America, how the employment rate staying persistently high, and that there are all sorts of solutions proposed, how to fix this problem, and who should get the bailout money. And so a lot of it, in my opinion, has been steered towards state and local governments, for hiring, public workers, teachers, firemen, that sort of thing, as well as these shovel-ready jobs, construction projects, and things like that. And I realize that those are certainly areas that have been hard hit with unemployment. But if we take a look at the macro perspective, the reality is, according to the Kaufmann Foundation, who studied this data extensively, is that all the net new jobs created in America since 1977 have come from startup companies and companies under 5 years old. And so my thesis is that not only are all the jobs created at these are the companies that are innovating, these are the companies that are creating products and services to move us into the future. With the exception of Apple, and I'll use technology, the technology industry for an example, with the exception of Apple, who has come out with some very innovative products, there's just not that much innovation happening in the technology space among the large companies, the IBM, the HP, Microsoft, those type of companies. But yet they seem to command, they're the hardest to get jobs with. They seem to take the highest, the top software engineers, the top graduates from college. They go to these companies and then they don't really make that much of an impact. So my thesis is that our tax policy, our recovery policy, things like that should be oriented towards a couple things. Number one is startups, the younger companies, the smaller businesses where all the jobs in America are created. And we try not to get too political, favoring one political party over the other on the show, but I would point to the recent announced initiatives of President Obama to stimulate the economy, yet another program where they are going to extend the write-off of capital expenditures for small businesses, and they're going to increase the deduction for research and development credits. Once again, these are things that don't really help businesses in America that are creating jobs. The research and development credits are mostly applicable to your larger companies, Pfizer and places like that. That your startups, that's not as applicable. We need things that are going to go out and encourage business owners to hire people. The same thing with a lot of our technologies, a lot of our industry in America is not capital intensive. And so when you look at companies that would be able to add jobs, they just don't have anything to spend, $500,000 on to expense and equipment. I would stipulate that a better thing, if you want to get people hired, is give companies, say, a double deduction for every new person they hire. Instead of encouraging them to spend money on a piece of equipment they don't need, we've got a ton of businesses, and if you allowed, say you pay a new worker $40,000, but for a limited time, you allowed them to deduct $80,000. Do you know how many people, how many business owners would go out and hire new employees? It would be tremendous. It would be a great way to get people back to work, get the productivity level up. Another thing that I think if the president came on TV and announced that the corporate tax rate was being cut, you would see a huge flood of new jobs being created. Not only existing companies, but companies, instead of outsourcing overseas, you would see companies moving back to the United States if we had a much favorable tax rate. Even targeting more specifically your smaller business owners, as we were talking about, that all the jobs are created at startups and smaller companies. Well, let's target them. Let's make our tax policy favorable to them. The other thing is, who funds all these startups? You ask yourself, who has, $100,000, $200,000, $1 million, $2 million to give, some entrepreneur that thinks Facebook would be a good idea? Who has the money to give to the guy that wants to start a new biotech lab and create some new molecular structure? It's the wealthy people. That's what they do with their money. And so we should encourage the tax policy for people with excess money, the Bill Gates, Warren Buffett's, on down to people, in the millionaire category. Our tax policy should encourage them to invest in startups, not confiscate their wealth and give it to projects that do not create jobs. And this is backed up by data. Once again, just go out there and do your own research and find out that the startups, smaller companies, are the ones that are creating jobs, and that's where we need to focus. Well, that takes us to our second break. When we come back, we'll be looking at some of our viewers' emails.